Hey guys, Chris from the Ultimate Recycler. Welcome to my home shed. Hooray, I've been able to get in here. For those of you that have been following my channel, you'll know what a drama we've been through recently with the great cleanup series, having to move shops, moving a whole heap of stuff, getting rid of a lot, selling a lot of scrap, the whole bit. Anyway, this video, I've finally fought my way into the shed. It's the first night I've had home for ages. I'm really looking forward to getting into my shed, getting some repairs done, getting some restorations done, doing some unboxings. There's going to be lots going on this channel. Today's video, we're going to make a decision on something that's big and it's in my road. And it may well be a repair job. We'll have to work it out. Come and have a look. So I've fought my way into the inner sanctum of my shed, my little repair room. And I've just made a little bit of room. I've brought my laptop out here. I've turned some lights on. I've had the heater going. It's the first time, seriously, I've been able to sit in this room for over 2 months, and I've got projects everywhere. The biggest thing in the room is this Roland keyboard. Now, let me tell you about it. It was dropped off with Ewaste. Someone had thrown it out. Now, I don't know much about keyboards. I'm not a player. I'm not musical. I used to muck around on the piano a little bit. I've never really mucked around with these things. Roland were a brand that you used to see in a lot of the 80s bands on you know, the MTV, or what else was it, Rage, and they would often have a Roland. So I think they're a pretty good brand. I don't know if this is a budget model or not. I quickly found, I googled the model, and I think it was released in 1993, so it's getting old. Now, why was it thrown out? Well, I'm guessing that key doesn't work. I don't know if there's any other faults. Cosmetically, it doesn't look too bad. It's very grubby. It's probably been in the shed. I'm not sure what these stains are. I think it's just a bit oil. I haven't plugged it in yet, but what happens with a lot of these, look at the dust and grime around that volume control. It probably is going to be very crackly. But I'm going to plug it in. I have the power pack for it. I also have a foot pedal. I'm not sure what that's for. But I've done a quick search on eBay and I didn't find this model, but some of the models do bring pretty good money. But I'm thinking if we can save it, it's got to be better to sell it as a usable item than to send it to landfill. Certainly send it to landfill. But even to scrap it out, we'd end up with a lot of plastic and a lot of waste. It's on a stand as well. So I reckon if we can get it going, if this is all that's wrong with it and I can fix the key, then I would just hazard a guess that we might be able to get $100 for it through the shop. For some budding musician or a beginner keyboardist or something, surely someone would pay something for it. Even if it's just $50, it's better than sending it to landfill. So let's turn the thing over. If I can fix it, great. We'll pull it apart. We'll see if we can find out what's wrong. If it's going to work okay, we'll give it a bit of cleanup afterwards. And if it's no good, then at least we can scrap it and or sell it for parts or something, just to get it out of my shed. Okay, before we pull it apart, we really should test it to see what it does. So I've plugged it in. Let's turn the power button on. We have some lights. This is the first time I've turned it on. Usually these things have a demo or something. We'll try a key, see what happens. Okay, that sounds promising. Hey, go away, Coco. Coco's thinking the pedal's something to play with. No, rack off. Go on, scoot. Now, volume. Here we go. Crackle, yeah. That's what happens when you get dust in them. It's only crackling on one speaker though. Let's see if we've got more noise. Okay. Alright, I'm just playing with the foot pedal, so it does extend the noise, and without the pedal. Okay, let's try the demo. Lights on. Piano. I don't know how to get demo to go. I'm just pushing random buttons. Sync. I don't know how to start. Hang on, we'll try start. Oh, there we go. And we've got, all right, different options. It appears the electronics are working fine. So let's get rid of the demo. Hang on, we'll have to press stop. And we'll go back to the piano. Oh, we've still got a beat at the background somewhere. That's weird. I'm sure it's just because I don't know how to use it. If we can go back to piano somehow and get rid of that noise. How do we get rid of that? Stop. And then it starts when you press the key again. Alright. I'm sure you guys... I'll turn the video off and I'll sort this out. And I just want to see if we've got all the notes. And to see if this one... Well, we can see it now. There we go. So it sounds like it's okay, except for that note. Alright, I've seen enough. We won't waste too much more time mucking around here. Clearly I don't know how to use the thing, but it appears to me that the functions are working. We have one bad note, and we have a crackly volume. So I think we can fix both those. Let's turn it over. There's going to be a whole heap of screws to pull out, and we'll see if we can find the problem. So I've just removed the back cover. There were lots of screws. There were 4 that were not self-tappers, and I think they were ones that went into these brackets. So I have to be careful to put the right screws back in the right spot, because some of them are longer and you can't put a longer screw in a shorter spot. A lot of times you'll do damage to something. Alright, it's a bit more complicated than I thought it would be. There's a decent board under there. These boards may well be saleable anyway if I did want to part it out, because they're all branded Roland. The speakers are probably pretty good quality ones. It looks nice and clean in this part, which is good. Clearly we're going to have to identify which key was the dodgy one, and it's probably going to be a contact in here somewhere. I'm going to have to pull it apart a bit further. Hopefully it doesn't get too involved. I don't want to spend a lot of time on it. And the volume control will probably be direct mounted onto one of these boards. So I'll have to be careful when I take the boards out that the little knob on the volume control doesn't fall out and get lost. Looks like the chassis here is actually extruded aluminium. So yeah, okay. Alright, I better work out what's best to take off. I'm hoping all the key assembly all comes out in one go and it's easy to get to the other side of it. I have now undone enough self-tapping screws to remove the board assembly. I've unplugged the wiring. Wires go to the speakers each end. These ribbon cables go to the actual keyboard. So that's allowed much better access. I was careful what screws I undid because I wanted to kind of take it off in one module, and it's come off quite well. I did notice with the, hang on, it's the end of this wire, the headphone jack, which mounts at one end of the keyboard, and it looks like some wasps have filled it full of mud, so I'll have to clean that out. But it's coming apart okay. There is lots and lots, well, there are lots and lots of self-tappers. I'm sure these electronic keyboards were invented just purely to deal with a glut of self-tappers in the world, because they certainly use hundreds per item. I reckon that keyboard thing will come out in one hit now, or maybe I'll take the panels off the top. I've got to get to the contact somewhere, so I think it's just mounted to the frame with a few self-tappers. I'm going to have to get that main board out where the volume control is to get a bit of spray in there and clean it up. I did take the little slider knob off so I didn't lose it, and all the other controls are just press buttons, so they shouldn't come off. Alright, we'll keep dismantling. So the keyboard did remove in one go, and we're left now with really nice access. In fact, it doesn't appear to be much left of the thing. Nice access to the boards. The volume control is under this board. I've just taken the screws out of there, so we should be able to lift that up, and all the other buttons will stay there. We try not to disturb them, and there we go, there's the slider. So I'll just work that back and forward. I'll clean up, blow out a bit of dust with some compressed air very gently, and I'll spray a bit of deoxit fader in there, which should clean up the contacts and stop the crackling. So I've just reassembled the circuit board. I think that all went well. Here's the deoxit fader F5 I use. It's very expensive stuff, but it does seem to work quite well. So all that leaves us with is the keyboard assembly. And we have, here's the one with the tape on it, that's the dodgy key. So I've just removed the screws from this panel here. I'm not sure if it just lifts off. I haven't tried yet, so let's gently do it. Yes, okay, all right, we have little rubber molded things with contacts, little carbon contacts. It looks like the middle ones stayed there and the two end ones are still on the board. So that should be pretty easy if that's all it is. It'll just be a matter of cleaning the contacts up on the board, I would think. Well, we better not knock all this. There's a bit of corrosion under that one. Look at that. I did notice one of the screws had a bit of corrosion on it when I took them out. But interestingly, that corrosion around there doesn't correspond with our dodgy key. So hopefully we haven't got too much of a mess here. That's actually stuck. Something must have been spilt on here at one stage. All right, I'll put the camera down and I'll see if I can get that one off, because it may present problems in the future. We should clean it up while we've got it apart. But I think as far as this key goes, that one, it's just simply those would have pushed on one of these and just connected the carbon contacts on the back of the board. And that actually looks pretty clean, but I'll give it a wipe over. Hopefully it fixes it. We won't really be able to test it until we put it back together, which is going to be a bit awkward, but I'll clean it up as best I can and we'll put it back together and see how it goes. I'm actually more concerned about the corrosion in that part. Okay, so I've just got a screwdriver under here and popped this off, and the metal work is quite corroded. Looks a bit messy. There's certainly been something spilt there, but fortunately it's only rusted the metal frame and it hasn't affected the board or the contacts. So I will clean that up a little bit, but given that it's all dried out, I don't think it's going to eat away any further. I did notice the problem, or what I think is the problem. The key that was dodgy was the third contact back, so 1, 2, 3. And if we look on the board, you'll see that the copper trace from those contacts goes up to a soldered piece. I've got a pointer with me. I'll use my thumb. And you can see a bit of green corrosion there on the copper trace, so it must have broken through. I'm going to have to scrape that back and try and solder a little bridge on it to fix that, but that will be why that key wasn't working. So now I've just cleaned this plastic piece up and you'll see it looks a lot nicer under there, and I have given that a bit of a scrub with a fine wire brush. It's well and truly just stained. There's no loose flakes or anything there. I don't think that will present any problems at all. But certainly something's corroded it at some stage. So I think that will be fine. What I'm going to do now is just clean up all these little carbon contacts just with some deoxit spray and maybe a little cotton bud. And we'll do all three of those so that there'll be good connections. We'll also do the board sections where they touch on, just to make sure that there's no oxidization. And of course we need to fix that little corroded track there, which is the main problem. I have just given this corroded area a little bit of a scrub with a little nylon brush here, and it's cleaned up the corrosion. Let's have a look on the screen of the microscope, and you can see the scratching where I've been scrubbing it. Now, I put the ohms meter on there, and from the carbon pad just down here to that soldered section, there is no continuity, so there's a break in there somewhere. I'm going to scrape the rest of the corrosion off there, try and clean up what's left of the copper track, and I'll run some solder along that, and that should fix the problem. I did check the continuity of the trace next to it, and that was fine. I think though I might scrape that back because it does look a bit dodgy, and I'll just run a bit of solder along there as well. And that was the only part of the board that showed any corrosion. So I don't know where that corrosion came from, because it wasn't connected to the bad section where we had corrosion on the metal frame. It was a bit further along. But anyway, that's the key that's not working, and that's the reason why it's not working. Should be pretty straightforward to fix. We have success on the soldering job, although it was a little bit trickier than I initially thought, because that copper trace had totally corroded away underneath the lacquer. I'll put it under the microscope and show you. Where are we? Back there. There we go. So you can see that I coated the one next to it with solder, no problems, but it just wouldn't stick. There was nothing left of the copper trace on the other one, so I've put a little bit of wire in there, very fine wire, and I had to scrape away a little bit of that carbon pad, but that pad's not used. The switches only use those ones down there. So that shouldn't be in the road. That should be a good join now. We've got rid of all the corrosion. Shouldn't be any more issues. Let's put it back together and see if we can play some music. Well, after a lot of reattaching screws, as you would expect, I've got the player or the organ back together, or the keyboard, I guess you'd call it. I haven't turned it on yet, so let's experience this together. Hopefully there's no smoke. Alright, we have lights. That's a good sign. Let's see if we have... Oh, now the volume control. Hopefully it won't be as crackly. Pretty good. I can just hear a little bit. Let's see if we got music. Beauty. Now let's go down to the one that didn't work. That's the ultimate test. Beauty. All fixed. That's extremely satisfying. Okay, I just had a little bit of a play with this thing again, and I found out how to do the demo. We just have to press start. So let's have a listen. Okay, we'll stop that. I don't know if it's copyright music. It probably isn't. But that sounds great. Both speakers are working. We've got good volume. That wasn't even at maximum. It all seems to work beautifully. I'm sorry I can't play you any tunes. All I'm going to do now is just give it a little bit of a wipe over, just with some Armor All or something. It'd probably take those oil stains out a little bit, and it'll wipe some of the dust off it. And now, after, you know, a little bit of mucking around in my shed, and what did we spend? Maybe 2 hours. Was it about 2 hours, Coco? Thereabouts. I know she wants to go inside. It's a bit chilly out here. We now have a keyboard, a good brand keyboard with a stand, and the power pack, and the fade pedal or sustain pedal or whatever it's called. And I can put that in the shop and sell it. I'm sure someone will get a lot of use out of that. For a couple of hours work, I think I'll probably ask $100. I don't know what they're worth, but I'm just satisfied to save it from going to landfill. So thanks for watching that one, guys. I honestly wasn't expecting to get back in repairs so soon, but first night in the shed, Christine's gone off to play table tennis in Shepparton. I can't play because of my arm still. We're off to see the shoulder specialist tomorrow. Hopefully we're going to have some good news there. Also off for a scrap run tomorrow, so you'll see that video very shortly. So thanks for watching. Good getting back into my shed. Got something repaired, and the best thing is it's something big, so we'll gain a little bit of space. Okay, catch you next video. Bye for now.